Goedemiddag.
Hallo,
Good afternoon.
hallo Jan. Het is goed om jou hier te zien. Great.
Prof, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon,
Yes,
Prof.
sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you for our session on reading. And you will know my slogan is read, read, read. And if you do not read, you will not learn. And it is so important. All my stuff I've been reading lately tells us that we seriously in trouble with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence work on all the low-end cognitive thinking, and what we are losing as humans is the higher end of cognitive thinking. And well, we must make sure where we are going with artificial intelligence. So good day, everybody. Thank you for joining. I am really excited about this topic, and hopefully, you could read this book too and maybe use it. At the end, I will give you the good and the bad about the book. And otherwise, I hope you're going to enjoy the session. Afterwards, please ask questions. It is a new topic for us. Let us start with there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in by Leonard Cohen. And that is so true. In every crack, there is a light. So books, 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 books. And I thought of giving you some suggestions for top mobile apps for discovering and getting suggestions on books. And there's quite a number of apps you could download. Goodreads is one. The Story Graph is another one. Fable, a social reading app featuring book clubs and so on, if you're interested in that. And then Blinkist uses algorithms and reading habits to suggest notification titles and key ideas tailored to your specific interests. Now, I went and I did a search online and I got a number of apps available that could keep you informed about new books, etc. Because that's the problem for most people. What do I read and where do I find it? And these days, a lot of this stuff is online and it's digital, even audio, and you could drive in your car and listen to a book. And how great is that? Not necessary for you to sit for hours. For some of us, it's very difficult to read. We just don't have the personality type or whatever to sit and focus on a little piece of paper in front of you. But in some ways, we need to read. I've had to learn to read. And today I try and read one book every month. And that is what I'm sharing with you today. So the book we are going to look at, and I'm going to give you a broad overview of the book, is by Benjamin Simkin, The AI First Company. That does not mean to be first with AI. He clearly states that in his book, but it's to think of new structures in terms of AI and how AI could support you in your new structures. And well, he talks out of experience, and probably that is one of the low moments of the book, that it's not actually meant for everybody. You need to be an owner in business to be able to apply the stuff he is talking about. So books on AI, there is a number of books and titles. And I thought of just giving you some of the titles and the words you need to search for if you want to read on AI. Obvious, it's not only AI, there's a lot of other stuff that you could read too in terms of the topic. Now, why I cannot change my slide. Right, a number of books: artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's quite a lot of neural networks, the stuff that Elon Musk is doing. There's a number of artificial intelligence, a guide for thinking humans by Melanie Mitchell is a possible book you could look at. When Machines Become Your Customer, I thought that I read one book. It's on my shelf here, When Machines Become Customers by Don Ben Reef and Mark Raskino. And then I found others, When Machines Become Your Customers, and also by Leitka. So you could see there's a lot written about these topics. The Age of AI by Henry A. Kissinger and Eric Schmidt. Eric Schmidt is one of the ex-directors of Google, and Daniel Rutenlocher gives you a broad idea of what to expect from AI. Artificial intelligence is a very, very popular topic to write about. Now let's look at the AI first company, and I think very important, engineering the business around what AI makes possible. This is very important. From AI as a tool to AI as an operating model. And this is actually the message of the author, Benjamin Simkin. So let me give you a brief overview of AI First Company. So it starts off with the book. It's too active this side. It starts off with 7 zones. So very important to focus on lead generation, sales, delivery, operations, finance, team, and owner. Each zone is mapped side by side. Retrofit versus AI First Builder. Now, this is a concept he works on. Are you going to go for retrofit, or are you going for AI First Builder? So that is about re-engineering your business so readers can diagnose the current state and see the redesigned version. So I will talk a little bit about the retrofit and his concerns about it. Then the next theme is the context library. Context play a serious important role in this book, described as the single most important AI asset a business can build. It is a curated, structured repository of proprietary knowledge, tone, voice, processes, very important, guardrails, personas, entities, and workflows that feeds AI systems, essentially high quality RAG material. Most companies fail to build this correctly. So it's a whole issue, and I never thought that knowledge management is going to become such an important topic also for artificial intelligence. And maybe you could go back to knowledge management as a subject and see how that relates to what is required within the context library. Three-file architecture, the structural foundation, and he's very adamant about it, is context, skills, and routines. Now, that is what he calls the three-file architecture that every AI-first company is set to run on. So you can already see where the focus is going to be in terms of the deployment of AI. Skills and agents moving from disconnected tools to a connected compounding system of specialized agents. Now, yeah, it's very important, and there are many authors writing about AI, telling us it is not a tool. I even read about an author saying it's not artificial intelligence. And they asked the author, why is it not artificial intelligence? So he says it's only human that could have intelligence. We could talk about artificial wisdom, and that was a new way of putting it. MCP, Model Context Protocol and Connective issue, the layer that lets the AI stack talk to CRM, ads platforms, calendars, and other systems. Buy, build, or wait decision matrix, a practical filter to stop tool chasing and make durable technology choices. And he's very adamant about it. Don't jump on the bandwagon. Wait, analyze, and see. So many of these so-called technologies, AI technologies, I call it technologies, is actually obsolete at the time, and because of new ones being developed. And that is a seriously important point. Autonomy spectrum, guidance on where to start with AI autonomy, how to expand it safely, and why sequencing matters. And then he talks about the re-engineering roadmap, phased implementation. He says 90 days, a 1 year sort of program, and 3 years. Now, obvious, the author is selling a product. He's selling his services. And that is what the knowledge economy is about. And he's writing this book in order to sell more of his services, because he has got the experience with his own company in terms of AI deployment. So the big shift, that's the first sort of point he makes. AI changes more than productivity. AI is more than productivity. The central argument is not use more AI, but it is to rethink the company itself around AI capabilities. The question becomes, what would this business look like if I build it today? So his whole departure point is what I call white canvas. How do you start a business with AI? And that should be your mindset. Very interesting. And then he's got these two concepts, retrofit fit versus re-engineering. Retrofit is keep the existing business model and add AI tools. Now, he says that is a waste of time, and it only accentuates the gaps within your organization. Re-engineer is redesign offers, roles, workflows, and delivery around AI. Simkin argues that structural redesign creates a larger advantage. So it is not so easy. It is not by thinking, just get as many as possible AI tools. And remember, some of them are very expensive technologies. So where are you going to make money? Now, very interesting. My daughter works with Gartner, and she gave me a figure today, and she said 60% of companies, corporates deploying AI cannot show any profit for doing that in terms of the cost. So it's a very interesting development. It is not that easy that people thinking. I think people do not understand what AI can do other than just a search engine. That is another thing that came up lately. ChatGPT did a research on what do people use AI for? And voila, 70% search engines. That's not what AI is for. So AI should be seen, as Suleiman says, as a factory, something that can create. Or someone else said, think, I think it's this author said, think of AI as another employee in your organization. And that employee needs to be brought on board. You should onboard that employee with the context of the business. And if you're not going to do that, AI will hallucinate. And he mentions quite a number of problems that, if you do not know, you need to update AI on a constant basis. So let's move on. The question that changes everything. Start with a clean sheet question. If I was starting this business today with the tools that exist now, what would it look like? That is the question. This forces leaders to challenge inherited assumptions. It moves AI from an IT project to a business design exercise. So it's a mind shift. AI is not IT. AI is a business design exercise. The retrofit trap, more tools can create more complexity. Keep that in mind. Some people think more AI would work. Adding AI to unchanged workflows may speed individual tasks without changing the economics. Teams can spend time learning tools rather than improving the business. Technology layered onto poor structure can simply produce faster chaos. So a very interesting point, and he speaks from experience, and I think something we could listen listen for. What AI should actually change? Look beyond automation, business model, and office structure, organizational roles and responsibilities, workflows, information flows, and decision rights, delivery capacity, and margins and scalability. These are the issues that need to be redesigned. AI as infrastructure, AI is most valuable when it is embedded in how work gets done. Systems should gather, process, and communicate information continuously. Humans move towards judgment, strategy, relationships, and accountability. So he would still tell you the human role is huge in all of this. Listen, AI can only do what humans tell AI to do. So it's part of machine learning. And I don't think we'll get past that. There's jobs that are going to be lost, but there's also jobs going to be changed. And he describes in his book how he went about. He didn't sort of sack everybody and just deployed AI. No, it's a gradual process. Information becomes a strategic asset. I just love this heading because information, data is the new currency. Data on its own means nothing. That could be in files. A database management would be very important. Capture organizational knowledge. Knowledge management, once again, pops up. Turn data into usable information. Create feedback loops to so systems improve. Very important. If you're not going to have that feedback loops, remember, AI will only give you the information up to a certain time. AI don't know everything. AI don't know about the development, so a loop is necessary. Make the right information available where decisions happen. A typical knowledge management aspect. AI amplifies the business. I think I've mentioned it. AI does not automatically fix a weak model. So it's all about business models. So if someone comes to me and want to know whether they could present a business model or a business plan, the first thing I would ask, what is your business model? How do you make money? A confused business can automate confusion. Fix the constraints first, and he hammers on that. Then apply technology to multiply the improvement. So he would say, search for the bottlenecks, fix the bottlenecks in your business, and then move on. I think very wise sort of suggestion. Find the binding constraint. Yeah, he talks about constraints. Do not automate everything at once. Identify the bottleneck that limits growth or profitability. Prioritize the business zone where AI can change that constraint, and sequence the work so each improvement supports the next. And that's the problem with a database design. I wish you could go to and search more about this topic on database management. If your design is wrong, it's very difficult to fix, and it is very costly. So do it right. Get the expertise. Right. The 7 business zones, a practical way to map the company. Use a whole business view rather than isolated AI experiences. Typical zones include growth, sales, delivery, customer experience, operations, finance, and leadership. The important questions is how information and workflow between these zones. Now, how many students I've spoken to would tell me, you know, we've got a problem in the organization with leadership. We don't know what's happening. And this is a bottleneck. If communication is not perfect in your organization, then you will have a bottleneck. Right. Choose the right AI approach. Automation could be approached, predictable rules based on work, or AI assistance, tasks needing language synthesis or generation. Agents, more autonomous multi-step work. buy, build, or wait, depending on reliability, economics, and strategic value. At one stage, he will say, AI could be cheap, but the application and the actually rollout and the activity is more difficult. The goal is not no humans. Humans define outcomes, context, standards, and boundaries. AI handles repeatable information work at scale. Humans intervene with judgment, and listen to this, judgment, because AI can't do that. Ethics, probably AI cannot do that. Relationships or accountability matter. The organization becomes smaller in some areas and more capable overall. How cool is this? Redesign the organization, change the work before changing the people. And we say in strategy, usually, strategy or structure follows strategy. And this is precisely what he is saying. Map what each role actually does, separate repeatable execution from human judgment, design roles around higher value responsibilities, protect institutional knowledge by moving it into systems. Knowledge management. Yay! For the first time, people are talking knowledge management. How many organizations got a problem with implicit and tacit knowledge? For instance, there's a lot in the drawers of desks or in files on shelves. Other people in the company don't know of. Technology architecture, connect systems, beat isolated tools. AI tools create more value when they can share context and information. Again, a focus on context and information. Integrations, very important. Integrated systems, data structure, and workflow design are strategic infrastructure. Avoid a collection of disconnected subscriptions that cannot learn from one another. And that's about the compatibility between the different so-called AI technologies. They don't talk to each other. What is wonderful is what I've read recently, that Apple now is converging AI tools in the mobile device. How wonderful is that? If these guys thought that they're going to make money, this is disruptive. And it just tells you where AI is going, into a convergence of AI technologies. Safety, reliability, and control. Autonomy must be earned. Start with bounded, observable processes. Measure accuracy, reliability, and business impact. If there's no business impact, what is the use of the technology? The technology should serve the business and not the business, the technology. Add human oversight where risk is high. Increase autonomy as systems demonstrate dependable performance. The economics of AI first. Measure business outcomes, not tool usage. Not tool usage. Revenue per employee, gross margin and operating leverage, speed of delivery and onboarding, quality and customer outcomes, capacity created without proportional headcount growth. These are the important sort of economical issues you need to measure at the end. Not how many AI technology your organization is utilizing, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to benefit from the technology. The Simkin case, very interesting to read his story about his organization, how he went about. The retrofit example, that is when you add AI onto an existing sort of model, more AI subscriptions, same structure, and roughly the same economics. Re-engineered example, fewer people, higher margins, faster onboarding, and greater revenue per team member. The lesson: redesign creates the leverage. Tools only enable it. And I think this is maybe the line you can remember from this book. Redesign creates the leverage. Tools only enable it. So, and then it's got a 90-day transformation logic, sequence matters, diagnose the current business. I think that is what all students at BSN is actually doing. We formulate a problem within the current business, and then we find the gaps, and then we create a new reality. Run a clean sheet, do the retrofit test, identify the binding constraint, redesign priority workflows and roles, and implement, measure, and expand what works. I think the measurement thing, I've told you about the book previously, and we spoke about the book Risk Intelligence. If you cannot measure it, risk intelligence tells us it's not real. It's very positivistic, though, to think that way. But anyway, because we believe there's more than one truth. So what leaders need to do differently? Leadership becomes architecture. Wow, that means creation, innovation, solving problem. Stop asking, where can we add AI? Start asking, what should no longer be done the old way? Own the redesign at business level. Create a culture of experimentation with disciplined measurement. Once again, metrics is so important in any of the technology issues, whether you do e-commerce or deploy artificial intelligence. The final takeaway: don't retrofit the future onto yesterday's company. AI first is a business design philosophy. Build around information, intelligence, and learning. Wow, and that is what I find amazing. It's higher cognitive thinking processes that's required in terms of the leadership too. The competitive advantage comes from systems that compound, not simply from having AI tools. He also talks about the flywheel effect. How can you scale the business with artificial intelligence? The decisive leadership question: if we started today, would we build this company the same way? With what you know, obvious. And what Nassim Taleb says, we do not know what we will know. So very, very often we're in the unknown and so forth. I thought this was a very good slide to depict the good and the bad. I think this is absolutely fantastic. And Josie, can you think the discipline this dog has in terms of not taking that hamburger. And so let's quickly look at the good and the bad of this. Let me just stop this out. The good. Clear diagnosis of a widespread real-world failure mode. Tool accumulation without structural change. That is a good thing. So you cannot just add the tools. There must be structural change. Actionable mapping framework, 7 zones, context library, and the 3-file architecture that force concrete decisions rather than vague inspiration. That was a positive point within the book. Operator credibility and lived experience of both the trap and the exit. I think that we can all agree with that. Realistic sequencing and autonomy guidance that acknowledges risk and implementation order, and a focus on durable assets, context library. So your main assets is your data, your information, and connective infrastructure rather than chasing the latest model. What's the bad? It requires genuine ownership level authority. And I think this is a point that some of the or critique that came out, and willingness to redesign core processes, less useful for individual contributors or very early stage operators. So that was a very interesting critique. Implementation still demands significant time, change management, and technical literacy or ability to hire it. The $7 price is low. The real cost is execution. So actually, you could say it's cheap option, but the execution still asks a lot of energy in terms of teaching and learning the AI technology. Technology recommendations will age. I think that's the story with all of technologies, and you need to take that in account if you managing your business. The value lies more in architectural principles than in any specific tool list. So limited independent long-form critical reviews at the time of writing. Most public discussion comes from the author's channels or short review videos. It is very much an new technology author. You buy the book online anyway, there's no sort of peer review of the book. I think practical experience could also be very important in management. Some readers may find the framing closer to high-end business consulting, productized into a book than pure independent analysis. So these are opinions of a number of people being critical about the book. We do not know what we will know, and that is my end sentence for this book, The AI First Company. I really enjoyed reading it. You read it online. You could listen to it. It's something different. It's practical. It's not philosophical. So, right. Any questions you would like to ask?
Prof, can I speak?
Yeah, you can. Yes, please.
I just want to tell the readers that this was my prof for 3.5 years, from 2019 to 2022, and he got me through the DBA. So just that background. And then he said in the beginning, you got to read and read and read and read. He didn't tell you that he told me at one stage in the process, you've got to stop reading now and you've got to start writing. I don't know if you remember that. But in any case, Prof, I just want to say, I think you did very well. And what I would like, if I can give some, I've been working with chatbots now for 27 months. And I'm getting a lot out of them. I've written a book with them. I've written 2 academic chapters with them. And I just want to say that it is possible, and it's very, very enlightening. What I would suggest anybody that fears, if I can call it that, AI, just go and download 2 or 3 of these chatbots and start talking to them. Talk to them like you talk to humans, and you'll find how much they can enhance, especially while you're studying. So, but don't just work with one of them. Work with a number of them and use them to check each other as well. So that's all I want to say. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. It was very good.
Right, thank you, Jan. Yeah, I never forget the point I seriously had to talk to Jan and say, now stop reading, yeah, start writing. You're overthinking the processes of writing a dissertation. Thank you for reminding me, Jan. More questions? Right, everybody is very quiet. I'm very grateful that so many of you logged on. You will be able to get the slideshow. I think Virgil, your hand is up.
Yes, it is, Prof. It's Virgil.
Yes, Virgil.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. My question, Prof, very briefly. Very interesting point. Good presentation. I do agree with the previous speaker indeed. And you mentioned it a few times. It is new, groundbreaking stuff at this moment in time. And then one of the interesting things that stood out for me, which raised a question, which I thought I must just quickly ask. How much groundwork is being done at this moment in time, more or less from what you are seeing in the academic field, to sort of take the stance, AI is not a tool, but it could be a strategic partner? And what does that look like in inculcating or bringing that into what one could say probably the core capabilities of what the organizations of the future will need to help build their strategies? And obviously, I think the research is still new, but what is your sense? Because I know you have your ear to the ground always, but what is happening in that space?
Virgil, I wish I could answer you on that. You know, the author of this book has got a process of 90 days and I think 120 days and so to bring about the changes. But the problem we have at this stage, it is so fast moving that we cannot predict anything. And that's why he suggests you could rather just wait and see how this AI thing is going to pan out before you jump on the bandwagon and you pay a lot of money and go through the processes and so on. So the context will determine how quick will it be, you know, or possibly be. I think each organization, depending on the size, depending on the age, depending on the culture, would be different. So it's very difficult, I think, and I don't think you could lay down a specific time frame or so. Now, what we do know is 2027 is a very important year, or actually 2025 2005 was a very important year for the quantum computer, which is going to bring all these things together. NVIDIA is working together with IBM on that. 2027 is really the year of the humanoid and robots. So you could keep that in mind and see how that developed. And then 2030, they say, would be a new reality. We grew up in a specific era, and he said after or from 2030, we will not recognize our own reality anymore. So depending, I suppose, where you are in the world, and I could just foresee that the digital gap will widen, and depending on availability of technology and also access and connectivity to the technology. I hope I've answered you.
No, you definitely did. And then just one more question, a quick one. Yeah. And in the AI space at the moment, with the regulatory compliance frameworks that's being built around it, it also seems as though there could definitely be some blockers, especially when you are developing client-facing technologies. It's become almost a requirement, or it's going to be legislative, that you do share with customers and or clients that the content that they are reading is indeed generated by an AI. It must have some watermark or stamp. How far along the way is the South African regulator as far as that's concerned? Because I haven't been able to find anything. I know the US is driving hard to implement that.
Yeah, I think probably Europe is way ahead at this stage. Even, I've read this week that Europe and a lot of countries like France and Denmark decided to cancel all American products, Google and even Microsoft. And they just swiped it off their computers, and those are the governments. So, and we know now that the South African government presented as sort of a white paper on AI policies and things, and then they found out it was all AI generated, and it wasn't applicable for South Africa. So, it will take a time. I think people will wake up and all of a sudden find out, oh, now we're in trouble, and then they try and retrofit the policies, etc. But the most important thing, I think, the important question is security. Security is a very, very important issue. And how we're going to mitigate security and crime, because it's going to be rife. So we will need building blocks, protecting people, and have different layers of protection. So that would probably happen. But we do not know yet how it's going to pan out. At this stage, each country has got their own thing, and some way we need to bring it all together in a convergent model. But that would take time, I suppose. Robert?
All right. My name is Robert Chigil, and I have the following questions. First of all, thank you, Prof, for the amazing presentation. I picked one point that you mentioned regarding what your daughter told you. And I also see that there are arguments around the setup costs of AI versus the revenue, the derivable from it. Though AI sounds very promising, businesses are yet to see the value in terms of revenue, which you confirmed.
Yeah.
Other than speculation of the awesome returns, what other promise does AI bring to businesses? Since we are yet to see revenue at this time.
Yeah. I think what AI will do, everything that's got to do with input into a computer, tedious work, AI would take away. So probably you will have to make a change to roles within the organization. People will do something than just or these people putting data into computers and so forth. I think that would change, and that's the first thing that will change. AI probably within leisure, it could change things. I think there's a number of sectors AI would be playing a very important role, and combine it with blockchain, banks, probably transmittance, cross-border type of money moving and so forth. But it also has got the security issues around it at this stage, although blockchain is very, very safe. It's, I think at a point we'll have to see. If I think of Africa, where jobs is a major issue, I think it will take time. It will happen slowly, and then one day you will find out, okay, it has happened. There's no more people doing this job. They're doing something else. Bali?
Thanks, Prof, and thanks for a brilliant book. My question is actually linked to the previous question. I wanted to ask if there is a study that's been done on, because I assume it's too soon, and I assume most organizations are just overlaying AI on existing systems and processes just to avoid the upset that the re-engineering will create. Is there a study done to see how long it will take to at least break even from a bottom line point of view when you go a re-engineering approach, when you take it, because you're not going to get rid of people the next day. It is a process. How long will it take for organization to start breaking even, never mind realizing the benefit?
Yeah, the organization doing a lot of research in regards to AI is Gartner. And, I would urge you to go to their website and see, maybe do a search for something like this. But I do not know, if you could determine that, because the context will determine that. It depends on the size. It will depend on the industry. For instance, people in the mining industry and oil and gas, it would take ages for them to get onto these systems, although they are getting onto the tedious type of work. But it depends on the industry, on the size, etc. And all we know is that close to 70% of all people, organizations, big organizations, corporates, over 2,000 of them, that employed AI really cannot show any profit at this stage. And it's early stages. From last year, November, to this year in Feb, we had more or less 1 billion people using AI already. So it's going to take time. Thank you for that question. Johannes?
Hi, good afternoon, Prof, and colleagues. Thank you for an excellent presentation, Prof. In terms, I'm in the educational fraternity, operate there. My question to you today, Prof, that is vital for South Africa and Africa. How do AI-driven adaptive learning systems, primarily personalized instruction for students, individual students, and how will the curriculum be adapted and benefit from them? And what do you foresee? Must teachers be retrained in terms of how to deliver the curriculum? If you can give me some kind of direction, I will appreciate it. But thank you very much.
Johannes, very much at this stage, we do not know what we will know. What I can tell you is that Estonia, Minister of Education, I saw a speech from her the other day. Estonia is the first country that actually sort of deployed AI within the system. So you could follow Estonia and see how they are doing it. But what they have decided is to focus not on the lower end of cognitive thinking. The old system is lower end cognitive thinking. We learn something, we write an exam, and it gets marked. And after 4 days, you forget it in any way, and you do subjects that's not applicable. What they have started doing is to focus on the higher end of cognitive thinking. Now, the higher end of cognitive thinking requires critical thinking. So a focus on critical thinking, a focus on innovation, especially, and the solving of problems. And information is going to be everywhere, but the application of the information would be the important thing. And that is all I can tell you. And the other thing I can tell you, if institutions, education institutions are not going to adjust very quickly, they're going to be in museums very soon because they are going to be obsolete. And you'll probably find new institutions coming up because the old structures is too costly and people cannot afford the cost structure education has come forward with. I hope I help you, Johannes.
Yes, Prof. Yes, thank you very much, Prof. I think, Prof, the Minister of Education and DBE and everybody in the country must have a wake-up call and listen to what you just presented, because if we wake up one morning and then things is here, then it will be a disaster if we don't prepare now already. But thank you very much, Prof.
Right, thank you. I've got one hand more, and then we've been busy an hour, and I must have been talking too much, but thank you for all the questions. Idem.
Hello, Prof. Nice meeting you again, and thanks so much for this review of this book. Asking the big question and starting with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Who gave us the final takeaway of not to retrofit the future onto yesterday's company. Can you throw a little more on that? What do you push from there?
Well, the whole concept is, and that's why he's got this title of the AI first. It doesn't mean to use the AI first, but to focus on AI as a possibility to enhance your business. Otherwise, you're doing retrofit again. And the recreation and re-engineering of your business becomes the most important thing. So the most important thing will be, what can I do and how can I change the processes, etc., so that the organization benefit thereof and profit thereof. Right. I hope I've helped you in a way. please read the book, especially Idem. You will find a lot of information in the book. We just don't have the time to elaborate on everything. So thank you very much for joining this afternoon. And you could see this presentation on YouTube and also get the slides. So have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Prof.
Right?
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prof. Thanks, everyone.